Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are doing another BiS list today. This one is going over Holy Paladins. Surprisingly, been getting a lot of messages about doing Holy Paladin BiS lists, so I have this set up. Today we actually have two different BiS lists for you because there is a little bit of, not necessarily debate, but just flexibility between which set you're running, depending on your current situation. So we're going to go over both of those sets today, and I hope that you are able to learn something today. As with all these videos, I typically go straight into the talents and glyphs, but there's really nothing surprising about talents and glyphs here. I will hide my camera so that you can see, but nothing weird about talents or glyphs. So we'll just go straight into the gear. And this first setup, we are running 4-piece T8. Now let's quick look at 4-piece T8. It says your Sacred Shield can now trigger its effect every 4 seconds instead of every 6. So this is a very strong set bonus, but you don't actually need to run this set bonus if you have, for example, another Holy Paladin in your group, which most groups will have 2 Holy Paladins, and if you are also on a solo tank encounter, because you would really only have 1 Sacred Shield on the tank, and that's it. And so with that logic, there's no need of double dipping this set bonus if you have 2 Holy Paladins. So instead, you could run a 0-piece set, or a 1-piece set, really. And I'll show you that setup after this one. But just keep in mind that this 4-piece set bonus is really strong and pretty easily obtainable. I think a lot of this BiS is very obtainable. And so with that being said, let's get right into it. Thankfully, the conch head chest is obtainable by either emblems, or you can get it off with Thorn. Neck piece gonna come here from XT hard mode. Conch shoulders dropping from Yogg-Saron 25. Drape of the Sullen Goddess, this is the Freya hard mode cloak from 25 man. Our off piece, Breastplate of the Devoted. This is coming from XT hard mode in 25 as well. Then Bindings of the Winter Gale are the male wrists coming off of Hodier hard mode. Not too much contention here. If you have any Elisham or Restoshams, they'll probably want it too, but other than that, it's usually just going to be the Holy Paladin loot. Now, obviously, Constellus is not your BiS. Your BiS is technically Valinir, but it felt wrong to me to include Valinir on a list like this. I feel like you wouldn't learn anything by including Valinir on a list, so really your next best is going to be Constellus if you aren't able to get a Valinir. Constellus is going to be really good, but Constellus is also pretty contested, especially knowing that it is an MP5 weapon. A lot of times Loot Council will probably give this item to casters who want it as their BiS, because casters are not getting something like Valinir. So if that is you, another good option would just be going for Asuga, which is coming from 10 man, so much more obtainable, and it actually has haste instead of MP5, which is really nice, and a yellow socket, so we love that. Asuga is super good, and not too far behind from Constellus, although eventually we will want Constellus. Wisdom's Hold, going to be our best shield, of course. Nothing even comes close. This is from Thorum hard mode 25. Tear Gloves, you can get these off of Memoron in 25 man. You can also get lucky in VOA. Our best belt is going to be Star Beaded Clutch. It's kind of a weird one because it's a Spirit Haste belt. This comes from Algalon in 25 man. Definitely a weird one and a hard one to obtain, but it's not too contested, surprisingly, because it is a kind of an odd item. Alternatively, you could run with something like Plate Girdle of the Righteousness. This is BOE obtainable from a blacksmith craft. It's going to be pretty damn expensive, knowing that you'll need 6 Rune Orbs for the craft. It's going to be pretty expensive, but you could definitely run with something like this for a while. And even more alternatively, if you didn't want to craft anything or get anything off of any 25-man loot, you could also just get the Emblem of Conquest belt from just 28 emblems, which you could get after week 1. It's a very good belt here that you could use for a long time. And then Tier Legs are going to be really strong and really easily obtainable off of Freya. And then Boots, technically your best in slot boot is actually Treads of the False Oracle. But again, similar to Valinir, this one just for sure didn't feel right to put on an BiS list, because I don't think that there's any world where a Holy Paladin is actually going to get these boots unless you just purchase them in a GDKP. These come off of Yogg-Saron hard mode in 25, and they are BiS for every caster, and it's just, these are way too contested for you. Instead, you could run with Planewalker Treads, which unfortunately don't have any haste, but they're male MP5 crit. Nobody wants these boots, and they're 252 eye level off of Algalon. These are incredible boots, super good for every Holy Paladin out there. And definitely want to, recommend you shift your focus off of the treads and more towards the plane walker, as the difference is going to be pretty small in the end, and there's just no way you're getting treads. Additionally, with rings, we kind of have a similar situation. Fire Orchid Signet, definitely one of our BiS rings, but our other BiS would technically be Starshine Circle, 100%. This also is coming from 25-man Algalon quest item. This one is just going to be ridiculously hard to obtain because that quest item is oftentimes going to be best in slot for a lot of your DPS through phase 3 going into phase 4 of ICC. So healers are oftentimes just going to be low prio on something like this. So unless you're in a guild that's farming Algalon for 25 weeks straight, there's pretty much no chance that you're going to get Starshine Circle. Keeping that in mind, your next two ranks would be the Starshine Signet, which is the same ring coming from the same quest item, just the 10-man version. This one is fucking phenomenal, and you could absolutely run this as your BiS. Or Nebula Band. The difference between these two is extremely small. I prefer Nebula Band, but this one's also very contested, coming from 10-man Algalon as well. But this is the drop off of Algalon, not the quest item drop. So the quest item drop's a little more reliable. Either one of these rings is going to be great choice for you. And then of course the Fire Orchid Signet coming from Freya Hard Mode 10-man. So this one's really easy to obtain. Meteorite Crystal, for sure, Holy Paladin BiS, coming from Algalon 10-man, actually. This will last you a ridiculously long time. And of course, we're going to keep running with our Soul Preserver. This item is just bonkers OP. Now, let's look into our 0 set, no tier. Now again, keep in mind, we are only running with this set if we definitely don't need the 4-piece for any reason, or if you just felt like the value of the 4-piece wasn't being put to good use on whatever fight you were on. So you have to use your best judgment here when knowing when to swap to this set, or if you just don't want to contest people on teardrops. So it totally depends on like the loot that's dropping in front of your face and your raid team and your healer comp and your tanks. So definitely use your judgment call here as to know which set to run. The big differences here is we're going with these shoulders, which are dropping off of Thorm Hard Mode, Haste MP5. Another really good option are the Algalon 10-man shoulders, Haste Crit. These are very good. Both of these shoulders are phenomenal, and you wouldn't be wrong with either one of them. Next, we want to look at gloves. Now, technically, Pharaoh's gloves would be your best in slot for a set like this. Absolutely. These are for sure better. But Pharaoh's gloves, very much like the boots that we were talking about earlier, are just way too contested for me to actually put unironically on a Holy Paladin BiS list. There's no way that you would ever get them unless, of course, you were in a GDKP that somehow killed Algalon 25 and you dropped a, gold cap on them. These gloves are really good and actually very easy to obtain, coming from Thorum Hard Mode 10-man. Their plate, this is just straight up Holy Paladin loot, and they're great. Another slept on item, though, I will give a shout out to are these gloves off of General Vezak's 25 Hard Mode. They're 252 eye level, and I know that they're Spirit Crit, which is kind of weird, but nobody wants these gloves at all. And if, say, you were unlucky with Gauntlets of the Thunder God, and you saw these drop a couple times and nobody wanted them, these quickly get DE'd. So after a couple weeks, you won't see anybody wanting these gloves. You could definitely rock them in a set like this, for sure. Again, we're running with Star Beaded Clutch. Our legs. Now, these are also weird. We actually run with these hit legs off of Freya Hard Mode 25. Thankfully, these are only contested in the early weeks. Nobody really wants these in their BiS setup, at least not to my knowledge. And so it is weird having 80 hit rating on legs, but that intellect and those 3 sockets are just way too good to ignore. These legs are just going to be really strong for a setup like this. And that's it. That's the only difference between these two sets. I personally really like this setup versus the 4-piece tier 8, but there's really no massive difference. It's definitely dependent on your current situation, and nobody knows your current situation better than you do, so definitely use your judgment call there in terms of what BiS you want to run for the end of phase 2. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope to put out a couple more BiS list videos before Old War comes out because it is right around the corner. I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace.